Hey, I'm Mike Myers, and this is the Songwriting for Guitar podcast, which is geared to support songwriters and producers to gain confidence and turn pro. I bring on industry experts to help you improve and monetize your skills, engage better in the writing process, and build healthy habits to create a sustainable career that you love. Caffeinated, inspirational, conversational. Hey, what's up, friends? Mike Myers here with the Songwriting for Guitar podcast, episode number 69, Just Say Yes. And this week, we have my good friend, Songwriting for Guitar COO, artist Heather Taylor in the house. I feel like these past episodes, too, I've had a good chunk of people whom I talk with daily on the podcast, and I've started the episode being like, why haven't I had you on? And Heather is one of those people where I'm like, what the hell? She is so integrated into what we do here. She helps so much of our programs, all the behind the scenes things. Heather is a boss at running. In this episode, we are going to talk about saying yes to opportunities that are right in front of you, to stop making excuses. If you've ever said phrases like, you know what, I just don't have enough time. I will when I have more time. I wish I had more money. You know what, it's not the right opportunity. If you are making these excuses, and that seems to always be the thing, especially when all the good shit you should be doing pop up, you need to listen to this. Because we're going to talk about what are the results of you starting to say yes to things that you should be doing, and what are the repercussions when you say no to really good opportunities? It gets a little heavy, but I'm so glad that this is the episode that I'm doing with Heather. And this will probably be one of many episodes that I'll be doing with Heather. So we are going to jump in right now, episode number 69, Just Say Yes. I've never had you on the podcast. And I feel like I say that with very prominent people that I talk with like literally daily. And I'm like, why haven't I?
Because I think you need the right moment. I think you need the right topic. I think you know when that is.
But I feel like it's like I should have you more because, when I started Songwriting for Guitar, it was like, for the longest time, it was just me like doing everything. And then I brought you on and it was just like, oh, wow. It's just like, this is so much easier now. And it's just like, this is great because there's someone you can bounce off ideas and someone when I'm like, hey, let's do X, Y, Z. And you're like, hey, those are great. How about we do X and we save Y and Z for like later on because X is going to take a lot of work. And I'm like, you're right.
Let's focus, Mike. Let's go towards that. Like all of these are amazing ideas, but like which one is going to do the best thing for us now?
And what's also crazy is like, I talk to you pretty much daily, all the time. I've never met you in person for like I don't even know. I think but that's like an amazing age that we live in, that you can be so connected to a person. You can talk to them daily, do Zoom calls all the time, do this, never see them in person.
I know. And it works, but it only works to a point, I think. So I need to come to Nashville.
And I need to come to Asheville. So we have to choose which vills we're going to be in. It's just like
Bill hopping.
This podcast, I want to, because you're constantly behind the scenes that you see with everything, in terms of course structure and things that we do, that this comes up a lot. That this is like a decisive moment for so many songwriters, creatives. It's when choosing to say yes to an opportunity and diving into it because you don't know what good shit's going to be on the other side of it. And so many people that say, oh, no, this is not the right like, this is not the right moment. And then it's just like, well, when is the right moment? Or when you hear people be like, once things fall into place, I don't even know what that means. Like, honestly, it's just like, that mythical moment of just like one day, or it's just like right now the time isn't right, but I will in the future have ample amounts of time that shall be given to me. And it's like, real, how do you know? Is that something we
One
just
day I'll make that decision.
Yeah.
One day I'll let that happen, but you can't wait for your moments. Like, sometimes life does work like that. Sometimes you do have the most amazing things happen out of nowhere, and you're like, "Oh, this is how it all works," and it does. But at the same time, like, you need to do things in order to get to that moment.
You went to an amazing conference this weekend that you were just like, "This was so good." But, like,
So
when you were
good.
telling me all these, like, all these moments of, "Oh, I met so and so," and it's just like there are such great organic moments that happen naturally when you say, "Yes, I'm going to go. I'm going to book a plane ticket. I'm going to pack my bag. I'm going to go to a hotel. I'm going to do all these things. I'm also going to rearrange my schedule so I can make this a priority and go." You could also say like, "Oh, not this weekend. I don't think. Yeah, no. Yeah." Because
Never
I
right
feel when
time.
people go like, "Oh, I haven't gone, I have to book a flight. I don't know. Flights are crazy right now. I've looked on the news. Things are always canceled. It'll probably get canceled. I'll have to do this. And oh, what if they lose my They start creating all these imaginary scenarios to just like little
Mhm.
blocks and walls to put them up from actually doing the thing, because the thought of just
Mhm.
being there, putting themselves in a position of whether they're meeting different industry experts or meeting people that they may feel intimidated by because like, oh,
Mhm.
they're a little bit more advanced than me. Who am I? It's just like they will never give a list of reasons for themselves. They'll always give this long laundry list of things of why they shouldn't do it. Even if somebody
Yeah.
said, "Hey, here's an opportunity I want you to take." Oh, no, 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 no.
I like how your inner voice is like, "No, no,
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 no, no,
no,
no.
no,
This
no,
is
no."
not the moment. This is it is. It's just like I think everybody just has that. Oh, no, 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 no. Just
Absolutely.
wait.
We
Just
do all have
wait.
that.
Why?
Part of it is the industry, Mike. It's not being valued as a musician, not having our craft valued, not having and hearing that all the time. You want to believe that because it's easier, and it makes more sense because 'cause you've always heard it. But you have to start understanding that good things want to come to us. People care more than you think, and it's up to you to look for it. It's up to you to know what that is for yourself, and in order to know that, you have to do things and find it and put yourself out there and be brave.
Right there, the idea of like that you'll be surprised how many people are actually for you.
Mhm.
It's true. Like early on, I took a melody class from Clay Mills that was really good. And this was like early on when I was just like, I don't know. And I couldn't afford it. I got accepted. And I was like, because it was just out of my, and immediately I was just like, I can't do this. And this is when I just started dating Jen. And she was like, okay, how long do you have until you can, like, you have to say yes or no? And I was like, I've got like I have like like a weekend. She was like, "Can you find a way in the weekend to make this work?" And then she left, and then I was sitting on my couch just like, "Oh, people set up like these GoFundMes," and I'm like, nobody's gonna give to a go. So immediately, roadblock number one. I think of something, I go, nobody's gonna do it.
Mhm.
And then before I said no, I was like, I entertained a person that was a little bit more positive, which was Jen. And I was like, is this a good idea? Question mark. She was like, yeah, you totally should do this. And I was like, okay. And so I set up on a Sunday, and I just did like a little Instagram, Facebook post of like, hey, I hate talking about, again, starting off like, listen, and already not talking about the opportunity of being like, just like, let me tell you why I know everybody doesn't go, I hate talking about money. And in I think less than 10 hours, I raised like $700, and it was fully paid
Amazing.
for and even more. And it was people that were just like, absolutely, I'm so excited for it. And it's just like when you said that, that immediately took me back to like Mike Mind of like 2017, who was just like, I don't think anyone cares.
Yeah. Which is a sad place to be, but what you did right was being around a great apple like Jen,
Mhm.
and that's what people do for us. They just go, "You can," and they believe you, and they see you in a different way that you can see yourself.
And that's maybe the disconnect for some people, that they've been around so many people that are not for them that they don't realize that they've kind of gotten either, I don't know, I see one of two things. Either they're really like very timid and almost like no matter what opportunity they just talk themselves out of it, because it's kind of like the Eeyore attitude. It's not worth it. I'll think about it tomorrow. Or they're just super bitter and they are just like
Yeah.
cutthroat and they're just like, that doesn't work because blah, 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 blah. That's not going to
Mhm.
happen for you, because it's just like, it didn't happen because somebody was like that to them, that they embodied that sort of like harsh coding covered their creativity and their heart and their attitude. And now that when they see anybody with the least bit of optimism, the machete comes out and they're like, and it's just like trying to cut them down so that they don't feel bad that the majority of their time was not spent going after the thing they wanted to do.
Yeah. It didn't work for them once, or it didn't work for them 5 times even. Did you do it 100 times? Did you do it 1,000 times? And that, like, if you've done that 10,000 hours and it still hasn't worked for you, like that's the time probably to give up. But at the same time, everybody in this game who has been successful has had a very long story behind it.
It is. There's a ton of, it's not as straightforward, just like, oh, it worked out perfectly.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, maybe it's because we think when we're given the picture as kids, like you go through these grades and this is what happens and this is what goes on. And then you go to this thing and then you go to this thing and you are done. So we're taught that it's this very organized, and then you get it done and then you get your degree and then you go. And it's like, but it's not, it's hardly that. It's very much like, yeah, you're going to try it and it's going to not work. But then you're going to, the thing is, something like what you went to, a conference. I remember the first one I went to, you think in your head, oh, I'll try to make this perfect moment happen. Like we think like this, but the thing is, you need to go into it. I'm going to be open to meeting great people,
Mhm.
a lot of cool organic relationships and things that I don't even know about. I'm going to be totally open to that. And I'm going to be myself
Mhm.
and I'm going to allow good things to happen. And if certain
Mhm.
things don't happen, I'm not worried about it. I'm not going to try to wedge the door, or like, get a crowbar and be like, I'm coming in and just like force it open. Cause I don't think anything forced has ever been wonderful. I think when something always felt forced, it's just like, ooh, it's just like, I don't, it's like,
You do not wanna be remembered for that reason.
ooh, yeah, that the impression is, yeah, they're abrasive, they're harsh, and they
Mhm.
were just like in my face, like, listen to
Right.
my music.
Which is sad because it's probably opposite of your intention or anybody's intention who is like that. They're just so it's coming from a place of desperation, and they just don't know any other way of doing it, but then they come off, like, completely how they wouldn't want to. So it's like, I think that's why we're talking about this, is so we can help the people or help others and share what we know from it, you know?
I mean, what were some cool organic moments that, especially this weekend? Because what was
Mm.
the reason I wanted to talk to you about this, because it's just like
Mhm.
I'm feeding off the energy now. And like my Monday's gotten
Yeah,
a little bit more hype because you were like, oh my
yay,
God, it was so good. And
great.
I'm like, tell me more about, because I can tell it was just such a good, um, and like the event. What was the event?
Okay, so it was Drill Down, Level Up. It was the first conference, and it was given by First Note Entertainment with Tommy Jackson and Andrew Red. And they are so passionate, and they have worked so hard for this event, and you could feel it from the get-go. And that's what made me also very excited about it, because they were so excited about it. They put so much work and passion, and you could just feel it, you know? So yeah, Drill Down, Level Up. It was great. So I'll share something heavy to kind of give this all more context. My dad died very recently, and I've been in the grieving process, like, pretty heavy. But right before that happened, I got the scholarship to go to this conference, and it was these little moments that added up into something so big. So the organic part happened right from the get-go, and it almost felt like things were just, like, lining up into place, like, it was just kind of like this it was meant to happen. So I won't go totally all into that, but I had to really be brave to step out of myself and look for the good stuff. and know that this was going to be a great weekend. And so I had to be brave, and I went to the conference. And yeah, so am I going in the right direction, Mike?
You are, because you didn't have, but it's just like, I know the backstory, but sharing that too.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I told you this, you could have just been like, I'm not going to go.
Right.
I'm just not going to go.
So easy.
And I don't think anybody would have been like, what the fuck, Heather, you're not going. They would be like, no, but you said something in that I had to look for the good things.
Mm-hmm.
You had to consciously look. And that's, we have so little control over certain things, but there's actually, there is some really important key elements that we do have control over. We can choose to look for good moments. We can try what we can, and you looked for them. And as you said, I think when you do, when you said, I went to that conference and I fed off their energy, they were so passionate, honest, and really excited about this. And when you sought that fed into you.
Right.
And somebody that's looking at you, like right now, I'm looking at you and I'm feeding off of it. It is kind of like a domino effect. And I don't think we realize that.
It gave back. Yeah. Like you say, I'm ready. I will. And somebody else goes, oh, well, if you can. And then I saw that it responded to you, or whatever, that person, or responded to you so well. Okay, maybe it's okay if I do it. And then the next person feels that. And then it hits the right person that makes something explode, that touches somebody else, and it reaches the right ears, or it reaches the right heart, and then like something amazing happens. Yeah, there was a lot of organic moments. I just got back last night late on the plane, and it was like after 3 days of just this intense amount of information, this intense amount of meeting people. So I'm still kind of like sussing out everything that happened. But the most organic moments, the best moments, came from being real with people. Not too real or anything, and like just being yourself and showing up and just having some settled confidence in yourself. Like,
ooh, I like that phrase, settled confidence.
Like, I belong here. I have value. I have worth. Like, I don't need to prove it, but I want you to get to know me, and I want to get to know you. Yeah, settled confidence, but which is hard to get to, especially if you're like intimidated. Because I got there and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't think I belong here. Like I called my sister even for my hotel room, and I'm like, whew, I'm intimidated. I'm like, I think there's a level here that like I don't even understand. And then I just had to like pep talk myself and just go downstairs. Just like take the elevator, do one step at a time, go to the first thing, like say hi to the first person, try.
But I just like that phrase, settled confidence, because you're right. Some people have this, they think, oh, I need to get my conference face on. Right. And it's just like the good day. It is very nice to meet you. Hello, sir. This is a zip drive full of my songs. I would like to play you one. Here is my QR code. Would you like to scan it? And it's just like they talk in a way that they would not talk to a friend.
Yeah.
They, like in the sense of how we're having a conversation right now. We're laughing and just knowing that you don't have to have the pressure of trying to make a moment happen. That if you allow yourself to be yourself, and as you said, do that one step, like just take the elevator, just get the coffee, just walk, just sit, smile, say hi to someone, that immediately engages this sense of like, not only to yourself, like, yeah, you know what? It's like, I belong here. It's indicating to others, oh, they belong here. It's not that sort of like that curious or that questionable, like, I think I need to hide right now. But it's, you sit down, and then that's where somebody goes like, well, they seem approachable. I'm going to say hi to them and see see where they're from. And the conversation engages. And whether it's another attendee or it's one of the panelists, it's someone, you end up starting to make those connections. And that's where you start getting the cool stories of like, well, I was just getting, but then I ran into so and guess what? This is what happened.
Yeah. And you end up like, even just on the in their thing. Like, you end up working through your emotions enough to have like a good conversation, because you run into people who you have really easy conversations with, and sometimes they do feel a little forced, and you're like, oh, I just probably need to relax, or let them go, or just like let them go about their day, like just walk with them and like let them do their thing instead of like trapping them in a conversation and be like, yeah, listen to my music. This is exactly
Get
what
your
I
phone
do.
out, scan it.
Yeah. Yeah. And the people who were a little bit more like that, I don't think had a good time, but it is a process. Like, you do have to just like start where you are and like let it keep it going. Yeah. I don't know.
When we were talking this morning, I was like, man, this energy is so good. When you start saying yes to something like this, it starts opening you up to other opportunities and other things that you start naturally saying yes to, that you should be saying yes. And maybe some of these opportunities were there quite a while, waiting for you to eventually just come to that conclusion of like, and I know for some people it'd be like, Mike, this sounds like some hippy dippy shit. And you know what?
It does. And I'm so sorry.
You know what? It is a little bit, but it's also mindset. It is
Mhm.
literally mindset. It's
Mhm.
you switching something in your brain, choosing to be like, I will say yes to this, as opposed to saying no. And the no comes in forms of what I think are so many excuses. I don't have time is the number one thing that I hear.
Right.
Yeah, you do. You just don't want to do it. It's not a priority. No, my songwriter. Then say it right now. It's not, what is it? Like Rick Barker says, like, if instead of saying I don't have time, just say it's not a priority and see how it feels. And for a lot of people,
Absolutely.
if they stop hiding behind the time thing and using your, some people go like, well, my significant other, don't use them as a shield. Don't
Mhm.
use, well, my da da da. Don't use other people as your shield for not
Mhm.
doing the thing. That's not fair
Mhm.
to them.
Mhm.
And
Makes things so much harder.
just start saying it's not a priority. And if that makes you really uncomfortable and you can't get yourself to do it, then clearly that's something you should be doing. Time is always that thing. And even if you got more time, you still wouldn't manage it well. You'd still be
Mhm.
really messy with it. So it's just like making use of what you got. So stop hiding behind the time. Or, oh, I'll get it. I'll start saying yes when things start lining up right. What does that mean? Like nothing ever lines up perfectly. And again,
Mm-mm.
I think that goes back to when we're in school, there's a very systematic order to things. And so we assume that that's how we'll know this is the thing we should be doing. Like
Mhm.
this should line up perfectly and this should line. No, sometimes things are messy as fuck, but you probably should still say yes.
Right.
Because if you say yes, then that's something in your brain that starts slowly moving into, oh, I should probably also say yes to, and that starts you on that journey of bettering your craft, digging into better the connections you should be making, the things that are
Mhm.
organic, the things that open up, all the things that you should be doing. When you start saying yes, that's when you start moving in that direction. If you start saying no, then I don't know, maybe it's a comfortable and safe life, but it's not the thing that you should be doing, which kind of sucks to actually say.
Well, again, it's because you taught yourself, or something taught you to just be there. But that's the point, is that like your brain, like the neuroplasticity of your brain is a very real thing that you can help expand. So it's like you need to teach yourself, you need to teach your brain the brain chemistry, the good experiences. You have to teach it the opposite thing of what you've been learning.
Hey, it's Mike, and I just wanted to jump in the middle of this podcast to remind you that we record these live every Tuesday on our YouTube channel at 1 p.m. Central. So you can actually be part of the experience as we're recording this. You get to ask questions as we wrap things up, so you can be part of the whole experience. We've got tons of amazing guests coming up, so just go to youtube.com/songwriting for guitar to see all the list of guests that we have coming up, and so you can get those reminders and you can be part of that live taping every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Central. All right, enough of the jib jab. Back to the episode. Did you know that it takes less than 3 seconds for a bad impression to like imprint on your brain? But something
Oh, I
that's like the
believe it.
good shit, like the thing that's like amazing, you have to hold on to it for 15 seconds and literally think about nothing else.
Wow. So you have to hold on to it for
15
15 seconds. Like
seconds
you have to be
to
in that moment, like not move on. Just
you need to hold on to that for it to make a slight impression on your brain. When I realized that, I was like, no wonder half the shit, we think are either negative or like, that's why it's, when we get 35 million emails that are all great and there's one that we're just like, it just because
don't
it
hold on
made
to
that
that
much
one.
of an imprint on us. Just that
Yeah.
one that just like dug at us, that we did something amazing. 35 people were like, you were awesome. And one
Yeah.
person went like, it was
Yeah.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Seared deep
Mm-hmm.
in our brain. And that's why 3 days later, we're still thinking about that moment of like reliving, it was okay. It was, we're just
Mm-hmm.
replaying it.
Oh my gosh, I know. Like, okay, so I'm like sitting in the airport, like waiting for my plane yesterday, and like all of a sudden, like my brain goes to, oh, that one person didn't like really respond or like me, and I like really just wanted to have a nice conversation with them, and then I had to go, okay, wait, stop, 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 stop. Like all these good things happen. Like, and then I just like went back to, oh my gosh, I met the guy who wrote I Believe I Can Fly. I heard him sing. I met Grammy winners and we had real like connections and conversations. I met people who have music on TV in a big way and I could relate to them as humans and just have a moment, and it's in the grand scheme of things, it can be seen as like a big deal or a small deal, but
That was huge.
it was just
That was
great. It was just a
amazing.
great moment that I could just say, that was awesome. I didn't stay stuck in my brain. I didn't say no. I didn't say no to myself. I didn't let that one thing that got me down stop me from having the next conversation or the next moment. Because not all moments are going to be amazing. So you have to recognize when you're in a good moment and be like, oh, this is awesome. And also, like just love it.
All of that. I'm just like, yes, that's 100% what it needs to be. Because I think anyone that's done amazing shit has that pivotal point of either I'm going to say yes to myself, I'm going to say no. What is it going to be? Because if you say yes, yeah, it's not saying the journey is going to be perfect or it's going to be super easy. There are going to be moments that you say yes to stuff and you're going to be like, yeah, it was okay. But I'm going to keep on saying yes. I'm going to keep on, because I think saying yes to is also championing yourself. And a lot of people are not championing themselves.
Yes, absolutely.
They are just not. They're just
you have to be your own hype man.
No, they're just like, yeah. When, how many musicians come up and I got a song that I want you to hear. Maybe if you got time, you guys, and it's just like, oh my, you're convincing me not to listen to it because you're just like, if you got, well, I don't really, whenever someone new, sometimes when they come into my sphere of like either wanting to do coaching or something, I'm like, what do you do? And well, I did. Sometimes they're trying to even convince me that they shouldn't be holding a guitar. Like, it's just like, well, I don't really, I'm not, and it's like, don't worry about
another
that.
level. It's another level that like we can't understand until we see it. And it's like, okay, the music industry is so competitive. The level of talent and the people who are really doing it is absolutely incredible. But they didn't get there overnight. Like they did a lot of work in order to do that. And they said they self-championed. They went, I'm worthy of this, or whatever you need to tell yourself. I don't know what everybody's thing is, but like, yeah, you just have to be your own hype man inside your head when you can, as often as you can.
I think you have to be. You have to be the biggest proponent of you is going to be you. And you can do it in a way, and I think that's where for some people that are maybe a little bit more timid, or where is that going to seem like I'm egotistical? No. You can still be a proponent of what you're doing and put yourself in great scenarios without being overbearing, without being a jerk.
What's the alternative? you
Yeah.
know? It's like the alternative is sad. It's heartbreaking. And that's the thing. Don't break your own heart.
And I think that's the thing too of why I talk about this a lot. And sometimes people may be annoyed. It's because I just see those two things. And I see it in people that have the capability of doing it. All they've got to say is yes. And they go,
Mm.
you thinking about
Mhm.
it.
I
And it's
get it.
like, no, 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 no.
Mhm,
That's
mhm.
not it. I wish it was. I would. There are very few things I think sometimes in life that can be black and white, like a very kind of like you've got to say it's this or this.
Mhm.
And I think it's a cop out when people go one side. Nope, don't hide behind that. Maybe either do you want to do this or no? It's a yes or a no. Are you for you or are you against you?
Okay, and when you're in that space, you also need to realize it doesn't have to happen right away. When you say, "Yes, I am for me," it doesn't mean everything has to be perfectly in place in order for you to say yes. You just have to say yes and just keep saying yes. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely. Like
Yeah,
that, that GoFundMe that I did in like 2017. So many yeses happened after that.
cool.
And only now do I feel like, oh man, things are really, but it all started back to when it was just like Mike in tiny single bedroom apartment being like, maybe I should say maybe. And it's like, no, 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 no. And it's just like, good Lord. Mike now would go back in time, give number one Mike a hug and be like, dude, it's
Mike needs a
not
hug.
as scary as you think. That's the
Yeah.
first thing. As much as I initially want to go back sometimes and back in time, and we all want to like maybe smack ourselves around. What we really need is just actually a hug and be like, dude, you can do this.
Mhm,
Stop worrying about it.
mhm,
Stop freaking out. It's not going to be, as you said, overnight.
mhm.
It will take time. But if you say yes now, you're going to be more open to all these good things that are currently around you. And you're actually going to start seeing opportunities. And you're going to actually start thinking about what I found is I actually started thinking about solutions. Maybe there's still a problem,
Mhm.
but my mind was in a better space of not saying no, but being like, okay, before I say no, can I find a way to fix it? Can I find a way to make this happen? Can I find a way? I'm more likely to find that. And that helped my creative brain just get better at problem solving. And I
That's
find
amazing.
that a lot of the things that I want to do, and I think if everybody entertained this, I no longer think about, and I know people are, well, it's easy to say, I don't think about money things. I don't think about things. Even if it's a lot, I'm going to find a way. If I can find some sort of solution, I'm going to try to search for it for a little bit before automatically falling into the trap of being like, well, it hits all the marks of all the things that I know I need and it's a necessity, but I'm going to pass on this.
Expect the backlash from yourself, but I love that what you said. It's like you say yes, and then you go, but. But what you said was, I said yes, and then I heard the buts, and then I looked for the solution.
Yeah. The buts aren't bad. The buts are just indicating to you, like, hey, there may be something you need to figure out along the way. It's not a problem. And I think that was the thing, too. Like, it's all a brain thing. And I realized I had to do a lot of mindset shit because it was just like a lot of things that was, whether I realized programs, as a kid, whatever, I had to start like changing. Like, it's not a problem. It's just a thing that needs attention and I need to find a solution. It's not an issue. It's a thing that needs fixed. And if it's, if it's a quote unquote problem, there's a quote unquote solution for it. And I just need to find it, whether it is a money thing, whether it's like, you know what? I think of how I found you. Like I was in a position when I was building songwriting for guitar, just getting to the point where I was like, this is getting a lot. Like when you came into my sphere, I was doing like a boot camp and it was live. And I was like, there was, like 300 people in it, 400. I know, I think even more than that. And it was just like,
There's a lot.
and there was emails and things. And I was like talking to Stuart, I was just going like, oh God, I was like, for longest time, I thought like I could do this all myself. And I
Sure.
don't know if that was part of me just
Of
being
course.
controlling. I think it was a little bit of controlling. And it was also me
You're a musician.
a
Of
little
course you're gonna say, "I
controlling.
can do
And
it all
also
myself."
too, a little cheap, if I can say that. Can I say that?
Sure,
Just being like,
of
oh, you
course.
know what? I think because I can save I can, I can just, but then eventually it got midway through the boot camp that I was like, I remember sitting with Jen being like, this is so much. You know what? I think I need to start looking for like, because my friend Chris Bradley has something. And she was like, I got a virtual assistant and it like changed my game. I was like, what's that? And she was like, well, it's someone that helps you through your daily tasks. And like, they're online, you meet with them. It's like, cause you're a business online. I was like, oh, I was like, interesting. I was suddenly a little bit more open to it. And it was like, whatever you say, yes, universally, like you go like, all right, universe, I accept this now. I've tried this and clearly I can't. And then that's where I got an email from you being like, hey, Mike, I'm in the boot camp. And I was like, and you were like, I'm a virtual assistant. I was like, well, how about that?
What a
Huh.
great moment. What
It
a great
was.
moment.
It was a fucking amazing moment. And then I was like, okay, well, I'll meet with Heather and see what she's like. And we met this year. I was like, oh, this is easy. This is easy. And here we are 2 years later. And I'm just like, shit. I was like, Heather's like anyone that's starting, their own business. I'm like, you gotta find your Heather. You gotta find that person that you, and no, I'm serious about that. You have to find that person that is willing, number one, to be patient with you. Because
Sure.
yeah, on the outside, I can seem like, but I bet there are times where it's just like, Mike, you gotta calm down. Where I'm either going too, throwing too much, I'm going all over the place. But having a Heather to be like, hey, these are great, but let's hit the pause button for a second. Let's do this. But also find a Heather that's not afraid to be like, hey, can we be real for a moment? And I'd be like, sure, no problem. Like, I love the fact that sort of that transparency that makes things work so much better. That is huge. Like the fact that
communication.
I don't also feel like,
Mhm.
oh, I would never have like, oh, I don't want Heather on the podcast. Of course I would. Like the fact that these are conversations that we have while we're working, the things that we're doing,
Mhm.
and that I see you not only helping with songwriting for guitar, but I see you helping your own music career and all the things that you do, and just constantly bettering everything that you want in your, like, the saying yes. I've seen
Yeah.
more and more of that shit, which is just so good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of that is because I did the same thing that you did, and I go, I need help.
Yeah.
I need help. Like, I can't do this on my own. Of course, like as musicians, we're always told that we just see it. It's like I can do that. Oh, I can design that album cover. I can do the lyric video. I can just coach myself through this. I can do this all myself. I can do my bookings. And at some point, I mean, if you're doing well, like you're just gonna be like, okay, now I see that I can do it, but do I need to? Do I need to do all this? And how can I further all this stuff and like demonstrate my value to myself?
Yeah.
What am I great at? I want to do that more. Who else is great? Who can do the other things? And then how can we help each other? And I just feel like that is such like a next level thing, like to just be like teamwork.
I was reading in Dean Graziosi's book, he talked about when he was buying properties for a while to save money, he would cut the grass. And then one day he was like, why am I cutting the grass in all my properties?
Mm-hmm.
And then he was like,
Well,
and then I just got someone for like $100 to do it. And my dad was like, oh, $100, you can do it yourself. And he was like, yeah, I know I can, but like now I've regained that. And now I can like devote it to building more
time is
and
so
not
important.
doing something like, yes, technically I can do that. But like, should I be doing that?
Mm-hmm.
Should I like, and you're right, musician, I think we have this all like, like I can do this all. I can do this all. It's like, yeah, you can, but you're going to burn yourself out quickly. And if we know that when we say yes, this is going to be a long game, there's going to be lots of things. Finding those other people, whether if you're a songwriter and you're like, cool, I'm going to collaborate with this producer. If you're a producer and you're like, man, I don't have, I think of now everyone that's in the sphere. At some point, I had to say yes to like, they have this thing that they can come in and I'm open to it. I'm not going to be controlled. Oh man, this is so much better. It's so more free. Oh, I'm getting actually there quicker. I'm getting there quicker.
Burnout is real. Burnout is real. And that's why I think we let the buts come in too much, because we're already burned out from doing it all ourselves. And then that voice gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And all that you need to listen to from that voice is go take a nap.
That's what we should say. So Jen and I, at first, we would call like nap snoozles. And then one day in Voxer, how Heather and I communicated, it was like 2:30. I was like, Heather, I'm going to take a quick snoozle and then I'll be back.
And I'm like,
And you're like, what? And I was like, oh, that's just code word for nap. I'm just going to take a 40-minute nap. You're like, oh, snoozles. And so it's like, I have in my schedules where it's like, it's amazing to just take like a midday nap. It's amazing how much that resets my mind. Just 40, even if I don't sleep, I'm just like still for like a half hour. And then I get back up and I'm like, oh, God. I mean, goddamn, Leela takes naps. And when she does, she wakes up, my dog, and she's like, I feel amazing. Let's go. Why? Because she just took a nap. And then she's like,
get inspiration from your pets. That's what this podcast should be about.
She gets it right. But like, and you know, we can go into a whole other one about burnout, which I think we should. But
yeah, we should.
This one is about, I'm just so glad we could talk about just saying yes. So hopefully, if you're someone that is like, you know, I don't say yes a lot and I'm still not convinced, what I'd like you to do is listen to this again and just look for small moments where you can start saying yes. Maybe it's not maybe not a conference, not a thing, but you can just like, oh, you know what? Yeah. I can say yes and carve out 20 minutes to work on my song. I can say yes, because that's how it starts. It starts off incrementally in like really tiny amounts. But if you allow that to just creep in and do a little bit more and a little bit more, that's where you end up getting to all the amazing things, and your eyes start opening up to it.
Totally. And talk to a friend, pump yourself up.
Yeah.
Open the door, go down the elevator, see what happens.
I like, and you're right. If you just think about it in one step at a time, it's just like some of the basic, what can you do? How about you just kind of get yourself dressed up, go out, get yourself the cup of coffee, walk down, just be yourself, wave, say hi, and just like know that, oh, you don't have to pretend to be, you are there. I think, you know, people are like, I want my seat at the table. I think most of the time we don't realize that we're just like turned around. But if we turn around the other way, we're like, oh, we're already at the table. Wait a minute. What? How is that? And I think that's the case.
Oh my gosh. That's so funny. Yes. Such a funny take on it. I've never heard that. Yeah.
It's just like changing your perspective. Which way are you looking? Like,
oh my gosh. I love that so much.
Sitting backwards. But I'm so glad that we could do this. And thank you for, I don't know, transparency and honesty. Because again, that's one of the things that you're just so good at as an artist, as a human, as a COO, as just a general, just the amazing human being in general.
Oh my gosh, Mike, thank you so much. And yeah, thanks for being open enough and welcoming enough and human enough yourself in order for me to feel, oh, that's safe and that's cool, and I can be human and I can still kick some ass at work and, you know, like, and still do it. Yeah. So yeah, thank you. This was fun.
And that does it for this episode. It was edited and produced by Chris Fafalius. I'm Mike Myers. Thanks for listening.